is not the same that we lived in when we were children. All the experiences that we had as children are no longer available, or they're dwindling to those that are now living as children. Imagine going out, you go out with your grandparents or with your family, you're taking a walk, and you go out and you go to the lake, and you're able to swim on the beach and it's free, there's no weeds there. Or you're able to go and walk through the woods and there's no vines or no poisonous invasive plant species there that can ruin your experience. If you look back and you think about the times that we had as children, we have very positive, or at least I do, I have a very positive outlook on nature and the world around me. But where today, that's just not the case for society. Our woods are being overgrown, our lakes are being strangled by plants and other things that are taking away all the oxygen, and native wildlife has been starved into a depression unlike any other. Resources are very limited here today. Why is that though? There are a lot of different things that we can talk about in terms of what we do as man. There's one factor that not a lot of people understand or talk about, and that's invasive species. Specifically today, we're going to be talking about invasive plant species, and they're harmful and how they harm society and our ecosystem, and also one method of how we can combat them, which is controlled or prescribed burns. Invasive plant species are basically any plant species that has been brought over through trade or anything like that can come in and they act as basically a parasite amongst our ecosystems. They come in and they have no natural predators, so they're able to rise up without being taken out at an equal level, in which to take away all the resources and starve away the native plant species. They represent a threat to our ecosystems in North America, and according to the 2005 book, Invasive Plants of the Upper Midwest, an illustrated guide to their identification and control by Elizabeth Gazzara-Petta, which was printed by the University of Wisconsin, which then in return is a very reliable source. And although it came out in 2005, the facts still remain today in that this is what invasive species are doing. Invasive species cost the United States billions of dollars a year, and forests are being overrun, so activities like hunting, fishing, and other things that you can do in these recreational areas are diminishing because of said species. If you go out to the woods, it's overgrown and you can't walk around. All these native plant species that animals feed on are no longer here, so deer populations are dwindling, which then not very many people are buying hunting and fishing licenses. So therefore, that'll cost us money. Their presence and side effects, some of them are poisonous, and having them on your property also decreases your property value, which then costs the United States money as well. So how can we combat these? It seems like a terrible threat that nature can't take care of it by itself. There are no natural predators for these invasive species, so what can we do to help? Well, the Department of Natural Resources in Michigan has been using prescribed burns, which are where they set an area and they designate that one area and they actually set it on fire and they control said burn and watch it and they burn the area like a clean slate. Basically, a lot of native areas and ecosystems in North America have used natural fires and burns to actually replenish themselves and make themselves basically thrive, to where these invasive species aren't used to it. For one example, prairies and grasslands need fires to keep them open and free of shrubs and trees and other stuff like that. These prairies often have wildfires or wildflowers and other plants that rabbits and other small game animals eat, and then they feed the bigger animals like the cats and the bears. In terms of another example, the Michigan jack pines actually only release their seeds in extreme temperatures. So these fires are a natural occurrence and they're healthy for native species, but they're not for these invasive species that are not used to these fires. Natural fires are often caused by lightning strikes or stuff like that, but when in extreme cases where we need one right now to get rid of the invasive species, we can then use prescribed burns by the DNR to get rid of those invasive species. And because these native species are used to the fire, they often will replenish themselves and their seeds will still come up, minus the invasive ones. So today we've kind of talked about and we've learned about how invasive species are starving our ecosystems and draining our economy. And while we also learned that prescribed burns and controlled burns, while they may seem scary at first, if you look into them and you're educated on them, they actually help